Now, one big blunt lever that HR has when it comes to staff retention is the compensation and benefits package. So our second topic today is looking at the way these are changing and some of the pressures that HR leaders are facing from staff with itchy feet on the one side, but also tightening budgets on the employer side. Things like non-cash benefits, increased health insurances, and workplace flexibility are gaining popularity amongst employees today and therefore finding their way into those comp and ben packages. Laurence, have you noticed some of these changes coming through as well? And do you think they represent a permanent change in the way staff are employed and remunerated?
I think they certainly represent a big change and probably a long-term change. I'm not sure it's permanent because there will be more business cycles in the future. But certainly it's very clear that people are, it's kind of a dichotomy, because what the data says is the biggest reason people change jobs is for money. They are looking for massive pay rises, and often they're getting very significant pay rises. On the other hand, the data also says what people are looking for in the places they go to is the values, the purpose, and the alignment, as well as the flexible benefits, so that they can choose a lot more. So I think what we're seeing is, the consequences of our own behavior as large corporates and as leaders over the last couple of decades of really treating people as human resources, as cogs in the machine that are somewhat disposable. And I think people have come to realization that if I have the right skills, if I'm keeping myself up to date, if I'm at the edge of my field, I can make a lot more money somewhere else and get the purpose, the meaning, the comp and ben, the perks and flexible packages that I'm looking for. So I think it gives a real dichotomy for HR and leaders, in that you have to be very much on the ball in terms of the comp and ben aspects, but you also have to be making sure that the organization is true to its values, that the leaders are living their purpose. And I think more than anything, you cannot have one-dimensional answers here. I think, people are looking for more holistic situations where they get the pay, the comp and ben with the purpose and the meaning. And I actually think that's an amazingly good thing for business and for society and for stakeholders as a whole. But I do think it gives a real challenge for HR leaders in the short and medium term to really be on top of this and bring it to life in organizations.
Thanks, Laurence. Now, many employers concentrate on non-cash benefits, including more flexible healthcare arrangements and even workplace meals or discounts on popular local brands. Do these still have the same retention value that they once did in 2022?
I don't think so. A lot of them are now regarded as somewhat gimmicky, or their table stakes. It's nice to have it, but it doesn't really make a big difference. Again, the most interesting data shows that the most sought after perks are the flexible and hybrid working situations, so that be productive from anywhere, anytime. Secondly, mental health support and financial wellness support. So really looking the whole human being and considering their family as well. Somewhere between 60 to 80% of employees where their company offer mental health benefits are taking advantage of them. And often the biggest driver behind that is, again, financial wellness issues and concerns. So those benefits. So I think really, organizations have to be quite holistic in how they're putting that together. The gimmicky perks of, just copying, Google's free food or whatever. I think we're way past that stage now. We're way past that. Employees are looking for something that is much more personalized and aligned to their family and personal situation and stage of career growth. In fact, the third point there to add is the critical reskilling opportunities. And again, you mentioned earlier the Great Resignation. I've seen a lot of data recently that suggests, one of the most powerful levers organizations have is the ability to reskill internally, as well as talent mobility. So to offer people those developmental opportunities and those mobility chances within the organization to retain them and to develop them. So I think those are the three aspects that are most important moving forwards.
We've heard of some US tech companies offering payments in alternative currencies, including cryptos and non-fungible tokens. Are these serious alternatives for these employers, or are they more of an employer branding gimmick?
I don't know, to be honest. I think this is really interesting. And I think the answer is probably both. I mean, most crazy ideas are crazy until they become mainstream. Will this stuff become mainstream? I don't know. If you're in the tech industry, does it make sense to be enticing, rewarding, incentivizing your employees with crypto and with NFTs? Possibly. From a mindset and attraction and retention perspective, I think it's really interesting. And again, we've been doing work on digital mindsets in different organizations, and encouraging people to buy some crypto if they've never done it, to go and find collect an NFT or even mint an NFT just for the experience of it. So I do think there's a real opportunity here to engage people through things that they care about or things that you can get them interested in. And especially if you're in tech or, in any way digital in your business, which is kind of everybody these days, whether this is a real perk and a benefit, or it's a way to get your employees more interested and aligned in digital mindsets and excited about the digital world, I do think there's a potential upside here. So it's really interesting, and it's not yet a trend, so we'll have to wait and see. But I would certainly encourage exploring it, if only to find out if it works or not.
And finally, Laurence, do you have any advice for employers under pressure to pay more and more and more for that hard to find talent that's increasingly looking like it's hard to keep talent as well? Are we all just doomed to bid higher and higher for the skills needed in our economy today?
I think that is a bit of a reality, to be honest. I mean, I literally caught up with a colleague 48 hours ago, and they're sharing the story of, a mid-level HR person they'd hired and doubled their salary when they brought them into, a fast-growing tech firm. But 6 months later, they were offered 3 times as much externally. And the HR leader in question just said, go, that's fantastic, that's amazing. We can't compete with that. So you're not going to be able to perpetually compete on the money, right? We've talked about the other things you need to offer, and you need to do that. But I think you also need to just be a lot more dynamic and a lot more flexible about where the talent is and how you access it. And I think we talked in a previous episode about thinking of talent as the entire ecosystem in which your organization operates, your customers, your partners, your vendors and supply chain, but also all of the freelance and gig economy talent out there that you can engage. And, to really think of your employer brand, not just the employee value proposition for your full-time employees in your big office and your virtual workspaces, but any gig economy expertise you can bring in as well. So HR people are going to have to be a lot more inclusive and a lot more open-minded in where we get the talent and how we develop it and attract it and retain it. To me, that's still the biggest takeaway.
Well,